What's happening, folks? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? Welcome to the latest episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, SimFBallCritic, live from the steel basement. Give me just a second, guys. I'm testing out my audio. I should have done this before the video started, but I've been noticing some clipping happening with my microphone, right? You know, when I talk a little louder, especially when I've been doing some of my commentaries for Madden. I'm going to ask you guys to be my ears really quick. I'm going to talk loudly, get excited really quick, and y'all let me know if the audio cuts out. All right, y'all ready? Y'all ready? Y'all ready? What up, everybody? Yeah, boy! Y'all let me know if that cut out. I don't know where that yeah boy came from, but y'all let me know if it cut out at all. I think it has something to do with the mic being too close or whatever, but y'all let me know if you heard it, like, not only peak, but like get quiet as I got louder. Okay, you guys said I'm good. All right, so maybe I may have fixed the problem. All right, appreciate y'all doing that for me, man. Being my eyes and ears, if you will. What's happening, y'all? I don't have a whole lot to talk about. I got 3 things to get into, man. You know, y'all know what time of the year it is, man. It's going to be very brief. It's going to be very brief right now. We don't have a lot to talk about. Not a lot of excitement to talk about, but I like to come in here and kick it with you guys either way, man. Either way, whether it's a short show, long show, what have you, just being able to spend time with my Steelers family every week and doing my job, if you will, providing content to y'all every week. That's all I'm happy about. So let's say hello to some of the early commenters in the building, man. Let's get to it. Hold on, guys. Let me get it in sequential order here. Carolina Larry in the building. Why Diggy in the building. Mark Cunningham in the building. My guys right there. Sonny Rothmiller in the building. Robert Westover in the building. M. Forever 96 is in the building as well. Malvo in the building. My brother Kenyon in the building. Who else is up in here? Rajon 39 is definitely in the building. The master of music in the building. Andre Coleman in the building. And that's about it for right now, guys. And hopefully more of our Steelers family will come on in here a little bit later. So where do I want to begin? Like I said, 3 topics, guys, and we're gonna do these fairly quick because I know the NBA playoffs is on. I've been watching them and enjoying them, so you know, want to watch a little bit of that as well. Not being selfish, you know, it's just, hey, we ain't got a lot to talk about for the Steelers stuff, so we can do this real quick. I appreciate y'all lending me your ears when the playoffs is on, and then we can all go watch some playoff basketball, man. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mason Rudolph. That's the title. So that's my main topic. I will talk a smidget about Aaron Rodgers. And then I have a question for you guys as far as who did the Steelers sign? Because no disrespect to this guy, I don't know who he is. So that's pretty much what I'm going to talk about. So let's dive right into it. I asked the question, who did the Pittsburgh Steelers sign? I saw news of a wide receiver being signed, and, you know, the way it come across timelines and such, you know, you thinking it's going to be somebody. And again, I don't want to disrespect this gentleman. I'm not familiar with him. But the Steelers have signed, what's his name here? Montana Lemonious-Craig. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. His name, the middle name is spelled Lemonious. I'm assuming it's Lemonious. So, Montana Lemonious-Craig. I'm going to ask you guys in the comments, who is that? And before I get into that, hold on. Huge round of applause to our good brother Daron in the building. Once again, round of applause. Round of applause to Daron, man. He said 7.5 pounds, 20 inches, man. In case you guys don't remember, last week, him and his lovely, I don't know if you're married or not, so I'm just going to say wife. But I don't know if you're officially married or not, but we going to call her wifey, right? Him and his lovely wife, man, gave birth to a new addition to their family. If I remember correctly, it's a young gentleman. So we definitely want to continue that round of applause, man, and say congrats, guys, please, to Daron, man. He's been down this road before, as he told us last week, and I thought I did remember that, but I asked him to make sure it wasn't his first time. I only have one, and now that he's 11, my wife and I is tinkering with the idea. We crazy, right? But it's a beautiful thing, man. For any of you guys out there who have kids, y'all know what that feels like, especially as a man, and you get you a little boy. It's funny because I'll just sidetrack real quick and then we'll get back to it. I actually said I wanted to have both boy and girl. So that would be, ultimately what I wanted. But of course, every man would love to have a son. I mean, if you have a girl, you're a girl dad, of course. You're going to love them the same. But everybody wants their mini-me, just like the ladies want their mini-me. They want a little girl, right? So shout outs to Daron, man. To get the little man is special. So again, shout outs to you and yours. I'm glad everything went as planned. I'm assuming healthy, both him and the mother. So we here, still a nation, man. You're still a family. Want to give you a super duper salute to our newest member of Still a Nation. All right, guys, let's get back to it. So yeah, Sonny, same question I had. Who did the Steelers sign? And I'm still asking that question. I want somebody in the chat to tell me who he is. Who is Montana Lemonious-Craig? I saw some brief news on him. I think he played at both Arizona and Colorado. I think he played at Arizona this past year. The name almost sounds familiar, but I watched Shador and Travis at both years in Colorado, and I just can't quite remember this guy. I don't know if he was there when they were there. But can anybody tell me who Montana Lemonious-Craig is? That is the latest Steelers news that I have for you guys as far as a signing. But actually, hold on, let me check. Let me check the Steelers website, just make sure I didn't miss any other transactions that those of us would really care about. Let's see. And again, that's not a disrespect. Oh, hold on. Gotta interrupt myself, man. I gotta say thank you for the Wonder Bread. My good brother Luis coming through early with the Wonder Bread, man. Round of applause to Luis D. Luis says, hey, my brother Sim, it's been a while. Yeah, man, good to see you, Luis. He says, in your opinion, if Mason Rudolph is the number one quarterback, do you think he's capable of having the same success as he did in 2023? I may shock some of you guys, and I will say this. I think he would have a chance to have the same success, maybe even a little bit better. And let me just briefly explain that really quick, and then I'm going to get to Mason Rudolph. Give me about 10 minutes. I'll get to the final topic. Reason why I say that is Mason Rudolph capable of playing the way he did down the stretch of that season, getting us into the playoffs, right? Had a decent connection with George Pickens, seemed like he had more of a handle on the offense. And we started to move a little bit, right? Started to open the run game up a little bit, which opened the pass game up. And we were a decent offense, right? We weren't this high-flying offense. We had George Pickens able to make big plays downfield. We had a Mason Rudolph who was not afraid to let it fly and throw it deep downfield. And he showed a little bit of command of the offense. Now, why do I think he could do that and maybe a smidget better? Because this particular scheme would fit him better, right? Kind of similar to what we saw with Matt Canada, and also I forget who was calling the plays in his absence. I think it was Faulkner and was it Sullivan? I forget, guys, who took over the duties after Matt Canada was relieved of his. I think it was Eddie Faulkner, and I think it was Mike Sullivan. I'm not sure. But anyway, I think Arthur Smith's scheme would fit right into what Mason Rudolph could do. A guy that's going to stand in the pocket a bit more, a guy who can play from under center, hand the ball off, a guy that can play out of play action and can still throw it deep downfield to a big-time threat at like a DK Metcalf. The run game, I expect, is going to take a step up. That's not a shot or a disrespect to Najee Harris. I like what Najee Harris did for the Steelers. I liked his what he was as a big body, bruiser type of guy. However, I think Caleb Johnson has an opportunity to be much better than Najee Harris was in this particular system. Again, he fits the scheme better. He ran all types of zone schemes in college: outside zone, inside zone, split zone, that toss play. It's almost like you can literally say, even if you don't know much about scheme, go watch Iowa and then watch the Pittsburgh Steelers last year or Arthur Smith's scheme. And you would, even with the littlest of football knowledge, you would be able to say, that looks like what we do. And he's more of a home run hitter. And he's more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Explosive play type of runner. Ain't no whole lot of dancing. He get where he got to go, and he's a bigger guy like Najee. That can stiff arm, but that boy can house it. So I think having him, his style, again, I don't know what he is in the NFL. I'm just saying his style with Jaylen Warren, I think the run game takes a step up. So if you give us that, you plug in a Mason Rudolph. Question again from Luis was, can he perform the way he did in 2023? I would say yes. Is that enough? Don't know. But I would say he probably could do that if it came down to that. But appreciate you, Luis, man. Now again, let's go back. Let's go back. Did anybody answer the question about Lemonious-Craig? I'm not even going to call all three names. I'm just going to call him Lemonious because I like that. Lemonious-Craig. And again, for you guys trying to figure out what I'm talking about, the Steelers signed a wide receiver named Montana Lemonious-Craig, and I'm waiting for somebody in this chat to tell me who he is. I know the master of music is saying he's a camp body. I know that. I'm just saying, who is he? Oh, Kenya said he know. Hold on. Kenya got a little piece on him. Let me see what Kenya said. He is a gadget wide receiver and a fourth wide receiver at Arizona this past season. Thank me later. Okay. Appreciate it, Kenya, because I just knew nothing about him. And like I said, guys, I'm not trying to get on him. I'm making fun of the situation, right? Because everyone is still a nation is who's going to be the number 2? And we get rid of George. And who's going to be the guy that plays opposite DK Metcalf? That's a question again. We don't know if it's going to be Roman Wilson or will we see more Calvin Austin, in those scenarios, because Calvin can play the Z. Calvin was an X in college, but he would be the Z in this situation if the plan is to have him on the outside primarily in 12. I don't think that's the plan because he's not the best blocker, right? So then people are saying, is it going to be Roman Wilson? You guys, and I'm being honest with y'all, I have not watched the film yet because I've been on basically 2 vacations and all kinds of stuff going on over the last 2 weeks. I haven't had the time to watch Rock Taylor. This is another guy that y'all are telling me, check him out. He might fit the mold. And now we have Lemonious-Craig. So that's the reason why I'm saying it. And Robert Woods, and that's the only reason why I'm making fun of it, guys. We shall see. Who will be the legit number 2? None of us know. Because I can also guarantee you as well, if this guy makes the team, which I think he will, Skoranek, you're going to see Skoranek out there in some of those scenarios as well because of his blocking capability. So it's all up in the air, folks. All right, next topic, guys. We're moving right along. Aaron Rodgers, guys. He was not at OTAs. First day of OTAs, no Aaron Rodgers. Now, I'm going to be brief with this. I just want to make my quick point. Does it matter if guys are at voluntary OTAs? In theory, I would say no, right? Sometimes some of the veterans are not there. I think TJ Watt wasn't there. I think DK Metcalf wasn't there. It's for various reasons. Some people speculate it's because TJ is entering his final year of his contract and he's under negotiation. Who knows? In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter so much. But the only reason why I would illuminate it in this situation is because it's Aaron Rodgers, who is not a Pittsburgh Steeler. Some of y'all are going to say, yeah, but DK Metcalf ain't a Steeler either. Yeah, but DK Metcalf is a Steeler because he signed. You get it? So that's my whole point is here we are at OTAs, again, all voluntary. But we're still waiting on Aaron Rodgers, and he's not signed yet. That's just a problem for me, man. Because if you're going to be the starting quarterback, before I continue, let me continue to say this. I am not trying to beat down Aaron Rodgers either. I do believe what he said on Pat McAfee a few weeks ago. Dealing with some personal issues with some close friends and family of his. I think the story out there is one or maybe even two people really close to him is dealing with cancer. That is super sad to hear. He's in a new relationship, and he said as much. Maybe he's at a point in his life where he wants to spend more time with his relationship. The man is 41 years old, folks. He's played how many years? 18, 19, 20. I don't know which the years, but it's something like that. He's done it all. Maybe he is contemplating retirement. So I'm not getting on him for that. I'm just getting on the situation. This is a really sad situation that we're not asking where the starting quarterback is. We don't know who that is going into OTAs. And I don't even mean having a legit starter. This ain't even the Kenny Pickett days where you knew, okay, Trubisky was signed, so he's probably going to be it. But then you got this rookie that you drafted in the first round, right? We ain't even there. And it's just sad. I just want to point that out. So not going to make a big deal that he wasn't there, but it is a big deal that if this is a guy that the Steelers are waiting on, it's just not good, man, that he's not signed by OTAs. That's all I got on it. I'm not going to spend much more time on that. Those are my thoughts. What do you guys have on that? Let me see. Jermaine White says, shoot, does it matter who the number 2 receiver is there's no quarterback? You're right. Master of Music says Tomlin and his fanboy ways is holding the entire team back, forcing them to wait on Rodgers. And Rodgers is in a committed relationship with himself. Okay, so there could be some truth to what you're saying on both parts. I will say this, man, just to give Tomlin a little bit of bail. I do believe that, he makes the decisions as far as the roster. It seems like Art Rooney has said that. I'm not mad at that. But I don't think this is a hold the team back or holding the team hostage situation. I don't. I think what the Steelers are currently doing right now, I 100% believe what Aaron Rodgers said on Pat McAfee. Hey, I've been open and honest with all of the teams that I've talked to, and we know he's talking to Pittsburgh. I think there's open communication there, and I think what it is the Steelers are prepared to just move on without him, but they will still welcome him if he decides he wants to play. I think that's what it is. I honestly don't think it's a holdback situation or anything like that. I think the Steelers are prepared to move on with or without Aaron Rodgers. It's just that they will give him that grace because of who he is and because of his lengthy career, that if he wants to play, they will take a chance and sign him for a year. That's where it's at. So that's why I won't go so far as to say that, oh, Tomlin is holding him back. I don't think it's a situation like that, guys. I really don't think that the Steeler organization, owners, all the way down to the head coach, all the way down to the players are doing like this, just playing, twiddling their thumbs, waiting. No, I don't think it's a situation like that. I'm just tired of hearing it myself. You know, I would rather just, even as a fan, know what direction the Steelers are seemingly going in. And because we don't have that, it sucks. You know, so there you have it, man. Why Diggy says, in my opinion, Rodgers isn't going to make or break the Steelers either way. Yeah, fully agree with Why Diggy there. I mean, I said as much a couple weeks ago. I don't think Rodgers makes us a playoff team. A Super Bowl team. You know, maybe could Rodgers come in and do what we did last year? Get us to the playoffs? Maybe win a game? Sure. But I just don't know. I just don't think, if considering the other teams that we probably would have to play, I just don't think today's Aaron Rodgers makes the Steelers a Super Bowl team. And not just because of him. We got to see what the rest of the team is going to be like. You know, but those are just my 2 cents, guys. Last but not least, man, and then we'll get up out of here so we can all go enjoy some playoff basketball. My main topic of the night. I actually feel a little bad for Mason Rudolph, guys. I said it. I feel a little bit bad, not mad. I feel a little bad for Mason Rudolph, and I'm going to explain to you why. I want you guys to take your personal feelings for him off the table. I want you to put yourself in his situation. Don't compare yourself to him. Don't say, well, if it was me, I wouldn't. No. It's not about what could have happened, woulda, coulda, shoulda. Put yourself in the situation, in the shoes that he's had to wear since being drafted. And I'm going to paint the picture. Mason Rudolph gets drafted. I forget which draft it was. I don't know if it was 16 or 15. I don't remember. Mason Rudolph gets drafted in the 3rd round. Mason Rudolph is drafted with his college teammate, James Washington. And those guys were outstanding, prolific even in college as a tandem. You and him get drafted to a team that has an aging quarterback. So, of course, you're not looking to push anybody out the door, but you're looking at this like, okay, I might have an opportunity in a few years. You get drafted. The Hall of Fame quarterback, who is aging, basically fronts on you. Publicly says, you know, that we ain't really need that pick. And y'all remember how he said it. You know, no shade to Ben. I'm just saying, Ben publicly said, you know, look, I thought we could have did something else at that spot. He said, I don't know how, a quarterback doesn't necessarily help you now. And to me, listen, that's how a lot of people probably would feel in that situation. But the fact that Ben publicly said that, it was like, wow, that already let you know what time it was with them. They won't go have no real relationship. You know, you can keep them feelings inside. You don't have to say that to the media because you know what the media gonna make of that. Even if he felt that way, I was like, yo, Ben straight up said, I don't think we should have did that. Right? So you got that friction right there. You, for whatever reason, I'm going to blame this on Mason Rudolph and his agent. They decide to do a 1-year extension as they go into Ben Roethlisberger's last season, as he goes into his last season. And I was thinking to myself, if you're Mason Rudolph, why do you sign now and not just let this season play out, test free agency, and then you could always come back to the Steelers? I'm sure they would bring you back. But he didn't do that. What he did was sign the extension in that offseason, locking him up for 2 more years. Ben Roethlisberger plays and retires. And I guess the plan was, boom, I lock in with them from 2 years. Ben is going to retire. I'm going to be the starter for that year. I'm going to play great. And then I'm going to negotiate a contract. Maybe that's what he thought. But in the midst of doing that, the Pittsburgh Steelers basically say, I think we could do better. And they go and sign Mitchell Trubisky. And they pay Mitchell Trubisky more money than they're paying you. And then they turn around and draft. And many of us would say now, many of us said it back then, they reached in the first round for a quarterback because they felt like they needed to try all they could to get a franchise quarterback. And they drafted Kenny Pickett in a draft class that wasn't stacked. And they chose Kenny Pickett over Malik Willis, which a lot of people thought Malik Willis had the bigger upside then. Right? And if you're Kenny Pickett, you're sitting there, if you're Mason Rudolph, you're sitting there saying to yourself, not only did they sign another veteran, but they drafted a quarterback as well, so you already know you're the number 3. Wow. Then it gets to a point in 2023 where you got to come in and you take the team to the playoffs. I think he started the last 4 games of the season playing well. I remember it like yesterday. We go to Cincinnati on that Saturday night game. It was a Saturday night game. I always remember that because I went to, we went and hung out. We got a friend group. 2 of my best friends, one of which my cousin and their wives, and it's the 6 of us. We vacation together, we hang out. And I remember vividly, man, we were celebrating, I want to say it was my cousin's wife's birthday, right? And we go out to eat in Baltimore, and I'm probably the only Steeler fan in there, and they showing this game. And I'm in there going crazy because when we got there, as we get there, the game had already started, and I'm trying to figure out, what the score was. And I look on my phone, and I see that the Steelers are up by 14. I'm like, what in the world happened? I see that Mason Rudolph had almost 200 yards passing. I'm like, what happened? That was that infamous game, man, where he hit George Pickens on that slant. What was it, like 83 yards or whatever it was? Something like that. So I remember it vividly. Oh, man, Mason Rudolph is playing well. He's handling this better than most. He's outplaying Kenny Pickett, if you will. And Kenny Pickett is acting, being very, very nasty. Like, I didn't learn nothing when I won't playing. You remember? But anyway, we all said, wow, Mason Rudolph, okay. He's not going to be a world beater. And then they don't re-sign him. You got to run off to Tennessee. You get over there, you can't win the starting job. You only win the starting job, I believe. Y'all correct me. But I think the only reason why he was starting some of them games was because of injury to the other quarterbacks. And you didn't play the greatest. Had a couple games, you had some yards, but had some picks. But you didn't play great over there. And now here you are back with the Steelers. And I'm going to use Tomlin's words that he said about Russell Wilson. In pole position. Mason Rudolph is in pole position and no one's talking about him. Nobody. Nobody in the media. The narrative has only been on whether or not Aaron Rodgers is going to come to the Steelers or will they give Will Howard a shot? None of the local, not even local, none of the media is saying Mason Rudolph. In fact, they're using that as a negative. Mason Rudolph? You can't go in the season with Mason Rudolph. So I have to say, guys, as I wrap up this, my little story time there, I feel bad for him, man. Again, it has nothing to do with how I feel about him as a football player, just as a human. That's terrible. I would hate to be in that situation where even me tonight, I said, man, we start OTAs and we don't even know who the starting quarterback. We not even giving him a chance. That's got to be terrible, man, to cut your TV on and see that. And again, some people use it as fuel, but it's got to be terrible, man, to have endured this career that he has. That's my thoughts, man. It's a tough situation right there, man. Tough situation. So I'm just curious to see what you guys think on that, man. Let me see what y'all got. Let's see. Jermaine White says, mad disrespectful. This is why Coach T has failed the franchise. Okay. That was the worst move ever, signing MT and drafting KP. Should have drafted Lamar, then missed on Sanders this season. Okay, well, I will give you this much, Jermaine. Some of this is speculative, right? Speculative. You're saying missed on Sanders. And where I will defend the Steeler organization and Mike Tomlin in this regard is because I see a lot of people in Steeler Nation saying that. Nobody missed on Shedeur Sanders. All of these other teams passed on Shedeur Sanders. Even the team that drafted him drafted a quarterback ahead of him. So I'm not going to let our fan base make it seem like it's a Steelers or a Tomlin thing. It wasn't. Because what about all the other teams? In my estimation, Shedeur Sanders had no business being drafted in the 5th round. Shedeur Sanders should not have went past the 2nd round. In my opinion, when you look at the landscape of the quarterbacks and you look at the teams that were in need of a quarterback and you look at the quarterbacks that they took ahead of him. Very worst, 3rd. He should not have been drafted in the 5th round. And he definitely should not have been drafted by the Cleveland Browns, who already took a quarterback ahead of him. So like I'm saying, I'm not putting that on the Steelers. That's not a Steeler thing. That's not a Mike Tomlin thing. Clearly, there was something going on with Shedeur, whichever story you want to believe. Whether NFL scouts and GMs just didn't think he was worthy, I don't know if I believe that. I think it's more of, okay, we're going to show you who's in power. Be it, people can believe what they want to believe, but I believe, I don't know if it was a conspiracy, but I kind of believe that, maybe the way Shedeur, they, quote fingers, perceived the way he act, that kind of pushed them down people's boards. And it's kind of like follow the leader. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna sit here and say that the Steelers and Mike Tomlin passed on Shedeur Sanders. As far as the Lamar Jackson thing, hey, heck of a move by the Ravens, right? But again, the Steelers clearly were not trying to rock the boat with Ben Roethlisberger after seeing how the Mason Rudolph situation played out. So again, I have no evidence of that. I'm just saying the time that they did draft the quarterback in the 3rd round, Ben Roethlisberger gets upset. And I think that's kind of what the mantra was going to be until Ben retired. Completely mishandled that situation. And I will say that comes from up top to the GM. And you can even throw Mike Tomlin in there. I have no way of knowing how much pull he would have on the actual drafting the guy. But I'll put all of them in that mix. But I'm not going to just say Mike Tomlin did that. Again, that's the ownership. That's GMs. All of them are involved with, when it comes to drafting players. Yeah, and why Diggy makes a good point. Lamar was drafted in the same draft as Mason Rudolph, but yeah, I don't know. That's a good point then. So if what Diggy said, then yeah. So what I just said wouldn't have applied as far as them seeing how Ben Roethlisberger would have reacted. So I can't use that. But hey, maybe they just missed it. If we're being honest, nobody had Lamar Jackson. Remember, I will say this. Nobody had Lamar Jackson as a 1st round quarterback. Remember, everybody kept saying this guy won't gonna play quarterback. And that's one of the reasons why I root for him, is because how they just completely dismissed him playing quarterback. But again, I can't sit here and say I know why and who don't. I don't know. I'm just saying it's easy for fans to say the team missed on a player. It's easier to say that, man, in hindsight. But you have to remember all the other teams did the same thing. So it's, you can't just put that on the Steelers. What I would say, excuse me, what to me I would say was a true miss. Kenyon would remember this. Some of you guys might remember this. Even though I think it worked out over time, and I think he played relatively well his last 2 seasons, I felt like the year that they drafted Terrell Edmonds, they should have drafted Jesse Bates. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the same draft, because I told you guys at the time, I don't know if he's still his agent, but my wife's cousin is Jesse Bates' agent. And he told me himself that he thought Pittsburgh was going to take him. He was right there. I think that was the same draft. That was the real miss to me. If I would say with my opinion a miss, because it's the same position. One plays strong, one plays free, but it's a safety. And I kept pounding the table like, take Bates, and they didn't. So I look at that as a miss more so than saying, oh, they missed on Lamar or Shador. You know what I mean? But respect your opinion, though. Jermaine, I appreciate your comment, brother. Appreciate your comment, man. So, just so you know, because I think I've seen you before, but in case, people that are unfamiliar how I speak and all that, I'm never dissing anybody's opinion at all. I might debate an opinion if I have a strong disagreement, but I'm never disrespecting or dissing anyone's opinion. So that's why I said I respect what you're saying. I'm just replying, giving my reply to it. That's all. What else y'all got, man? Give me a couple more before we get out of here, man. Mark Cunningham says, funny how personnel moves that don't work out is Tomlin's moves that work. Moves that work are organizational decision. Wow. Mark, you are correct. It's the same thing that I've said about, again, this is not a defense for Mike Tomlin, guys. I feel like I'm a broken record saying this, but like I said, I expect that I have new viewers all the time that don't know my position. If you don't like Mike Tomlin, that's fair, but I feel like you should not like him all the time. You can't not say nothing when they're winning, but then you only say something when they lose. Or like Mark said, you can't not say something when a draft pick worked out, but you only say something when it doesn't. You should just always say, I just don't like so-and-so. I'm just not a fan of so-and-so. And that is always fair. You don't have to be a fan of a player or a coach, but the flip-flops shouldn't be so many flip-flops. You guys heard me do it all the time with Matt Canada, right? I used to always say, I just don't feel him. But when the game was called decent, I say, hey, I got to give him credit. I just wasn't a fan of the approach. And I never went against that. I didn't just give him so much credit when we won a game. No, I didn't like his approach. But yeah, man, like I said, I definitely will not defend. I will never try to defend player or coach to anybody's opinion. You are entitled to that opinion. And also, I will say this too, Jermaine. It is all hindsight. I mean, you think about the way the Steelers were made up, because I see that you said Lamar and Edmonds were in the same draft. You got to remember, like, Lamar Jackson didn't look anything like or anything close to a Steeler fit. You know what I mean? Like, the Steelers have been very stubborn. They had their style at quarterback. Never in a million years would I ever think the Steelers would have drafted a Lamar Jackson. It's not what they do. They basically have run the same type of scheme like through 2 or 3 different coordinators. So that's what I'm saying. Baltimore had the mindset, of saying, hey, we're going to draft this guy and we're going to have packages for him and, we're going to build the offense around him. That was great for them. But like I said, if we're real true Steelers fans, we know that's not what they were going to do. It's the same reason why years ago, I'll give y'all another name. I never understood why the Steelers drafted Dennis Dixon. Y'all remember him? I never understood why they drafted Dennis Dixon. Never understood it. You know what I mean? They just don't think outside the box like that. They're not structured that way. And I want to say Kenyon, and I think Kenyon, we knew each other way back then, I think. I can't remember. It's been so long. But I know Tony would remember me saying that. Why did we draft Dennis Dixon? Like, I just never saw what he did in college being a fit in Pittsburgh, right? And again, some of y'all might say, well, if they drafted him, they should have took a chance on Lamar. No, I'm just it's certain things that I never would expect from the Steelers because they haven't shown us evidence of it, especially with core offensive structure and core defensive structure. They have largely been the same, and they don't change much. So I feel you, buddy. It's just, I think it's easier for me to stomach because I just kind of understand that this team ain't going to do that. CT Pittman says, people underestimate development, Sim. Josh Allen wasn't who he is now when he was drafted. That is a fact. Nor was Lamar. You know what I mean? Nor was Lamar. The Master of Music says they drafted Cordell, though. He was Lamar before Lamar. Hey, we can debate it back and forth, but in the eras in which these guys came out, I just wouldn't have seen that. And you're right. It was a shocker too. Even when you think back to a Cordell, that style of quarterback at that time was outside of the norm. Didn't last very long with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you're right. I get what you're saying, but we all know, man, in theory, we're talking about Randy Fichtner, Matt Canada. Yeah, I'm trying to think who was before that. Can't remember because Fichtner was there quite a while. But I just didn't see Lamar Jackson. Didn't see Lamar Jackson ever matching any of those schemes. And me personally, I understand a little bit where you're trying to go with Slash, but Slash and Lamar are definitely not the same type of player. No. Could they both run? Sure, but no, that's not a direct comparison in my opinion. Oh yeah, Todd Haley. Give me a couple more, guys. I feel you, Jermaine. And when I say this, don't take this. This is not a personal thing, but I say this all the time. Like, what you're saying is coming from an emotional standpoint, and I feel you 100%. Like you saying, man, it's just tough to rock with him 100% on the football moves. Blitzbird is gone. Run thumping linebackers are gone. That's our emotion talking, and I'm with you 100%. But it's never that clear cut, right? And what I mean by that is we can't believe that the coaching staff is not looking for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, still to this day, NFL players always say the Steelers have one of the toughest training camps. We created the back-on-backers. Like, these things are well known. It's well known that the Steelers are rough and tough, and we have a hard training camp. So because some of these aspects are missing, I can assure you, at least I feel this way, that it's not the coaching staff. Remember, Mike Tomlin, whether some people want to say that he inherited it or not, he coached along with Dick LeBeau, those teams, the '08 and the 2010 defenses. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't get too wrapped up in saying this is gone, that's gone. You know, a lot of that is player, is personnel. You know, Ryan Shazier getting hurt, that derailed our offense for a little bit. It's hard, defense, hard to find a replacement for that guy. So it forces you to do other things. And I get you saying Blitzburg is gone, but let's not forget the last, 4 years or so, not last season, but remember we had them consecutive seasons within the last 4 years where we led the league in sacks. You see, led the league in turnovers a year ago. So it's just different swings. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm with you though, man. And let me just say this. I appreciate your comments, man. I really do. I really do. Yeah, because I don't think I've seen you comment as much. So thank you for them. Keep them coming. Mark Cunningham says, yeah, Sim, the game has changed, but we need to blitz a little more this year. I agree. And you know, to some degree, Jermaine was correct on that. I agree. We definitely need to start sending heat. I see other teams do it. You know, we need to not rely so much on the 4. I mean, if you can let the 4 eat, sure. But sometimes you got to send that little element of surprise, man. You know, even like how we used to do with Mike Hilton. Now, when we've blitzed nickels since Mike Hilton, they haven't gotten home. But I'm just making the point of we got to send some heat every now and then. You know, that's why I love teams like the Eagles when everybody know they coming. Like when everybody knows they coming and they still can't convert. That's the type of mentality I want for our defense again. Yeah, and I think Kenya makes a point. He says the Steelers' lack of blitz was because of the other CBs not allowing us to play more man. Very true. Very true. A lot of that stuff goes hand in hand. All right, a couple more, guys. I didn't even know I was going to talk this long, man. Master Music says, I think the O-line issues might be coaching, though, because Moore was recently asked about something he has said, and he didn't learn that in Pittsburgh. That's an indictment on Meyer. Yeah, and that's the truth as well. I fully agree with that. I think we definitely have to put a little more stock into position coaches. Because, you know, our head coach has a philosophy of allowing his team to coach, his staff to coach. And I know people will say, oh, yeah, but you're the head man. True. But if I had a team and I hire some of you guys to do a job, I expect y'all to do the job. I shouldn't have to always come. I can't come on every game and step in and take over the O-line, and now I got to go take over the receivers. Now I got to go take over the offense. Man, now I got to get back to the deep. No, that's why I developed what I thought a competent staff. You understand what I'm saying? But yeah, the head man got to be able to, the mastermind, to be able to have his eye on everything. But I do think, and this could be said in other organizations, I think we put too much stock into head coach. And all football teams, they get too much blame and too much credit. It's a collective. But all right, guys, let me get two more, because I see one that I don't recognize the name so much. Shout outs to Blue and Grays. He says, Steelers seem to go from Blitzburg to bend, don't break philosophy. Yeah, man. And I hate seeing that. I hate seeing that. I hate allowing teams to go up and down the field, and then and let me tell you something else I hate, man, while we're on it. I hate prevent defense. I hate it. I hate when you go up 2 touchdowns or so, whatever comfortable lead you think you got. And I understand why you go soft to make them burn the clock, but it seems like Pittsburgh sometimes allow them to do it a little too easy. Why not play the same defense if it's been working? Why not play the exact same? I get you playing the clock game, but you can't just allow them to do that until they tie the score up. Play the same defense that's been working, and when it's really comfortable, when you got the clock is working in your favor, 7 minutes, 8 minutes left in the fourth, now you can go soft when you up a couple touchdowns. Now that I put a lot of responsibility on Mike Tomlin, because he's a defensive guy. I know he has his handprints on that defense. So that's why I will do this at him. Even as a fan of him as a coach, I'm going to shake the finger and criticize things that I feel like, all right, now that right there, you're a defensive guy. What else? I wanted to read somebody that I hadn't read yet. Fully agree with what Diggy said right there. Tomlin's loyalty definitely seems to be a detriment, as far as his loyalty to staff. Dark Storm said something. I don't know if that's a comment from something else, but you said, where's your comment? I just saw it. Okay, I lost it. Oh, he says it prevents you from winning. So I don't know if you're commenting on something else. Maybe you're commenting on why Diggy's comment there. But all right, guys, I'll read one last one and then we'll get out of here. Walter Worthy says every zone has a weak spot opening, but ours seem like a Chick-fil-A parking lot on Sunday. Hey, yo, round of applause to Walter Worthy, man, making me lose my voice laughing. That's a good one, yo. Don't y'all love when you stumble up on funny? Because I'm reading the comment like intently, right? Like I don't know a joke is coming, and then when it finally hit, my man said like Chick-fil-A parking lot on Sunday. And y'all should understand what he talk about it. For those that don't know, for the people in the back, Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday. But you are absolutely correct, sir. Ask Kenyon how much I'm texting him during the game. Like, man, what are we doing? And I come on here after the game and I be like, dog, I get it. Why do we play so far off? And that's part of it. We be running a regular zone and we lined up 12 yards off the receiver. Why? Do y'all remember? This is my last rant, then I'm out of here. Y'all remember how many easy slants we gave up? And I'm talking like 3rd and 7. Not only are we playing trail technique, zone, or bail, we doing it 10 yards off of the line of scrimmage. And we always would turn this way. We would always give them the inside. And I'm like, fam, can we reduce, even if you want to run zone, can you go from lining up 10 yards away from the wide receiver to maybe 5, 6, just so it ain't so much room you got to cover? You can play the same zone without being too close to the receiver to where he can easily get past you and also allow enough space for you to read the action. Just reduce it. Again, I'm not no NFL player or a coach, but I'm like, dude, if it's 3rd and 6 and you lined up, no lie, go watch the film, 10 to 12 yards off of the receiver, a quick slant is going to hit every time. Receiver will catch the ball at 5 yards and he will fall to the 6th or 7th yard. That is what they call a first down. But if you're closer to him, that's a tougher throw. It's easier to react to it. You ain't got to be impressed, but take that 10 and reduce it to 5. And it won't be like Chick-fil-A on Sunday. But all right, man, let me get out of here, man. Let me go watch some basketball. Let me see who up. Them Knicks, boy. Boy, it's almost amusing watching fan base. They was so hyped for the quarterfinal. Oh, let me see. Oh, they tied. Okay, 56-56. They were so hyped, dog, to make it to the conference finals. And now they're in a dogfight. Now, I'll give the Knicks credit for fighting back in that last game because I thought it was over. And had they gone up 3-0. So if they can win this game tonight, man, and go back to New York 2-2, that'd be interesting. But if the Pacers win that thing, it's going to be a little bleak. And it looks like OKC probably going to take care of business here in the next game or two as well. But all right, guys. Appreciate y'all. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. Y'all know that. Like always, man, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button if you like the video, and if you like the content, subscribe to the channel, and of course, turn on your notifications so you know when videos are up and running. Outside of that, like I tell you guys each and every week, make sure y'all stay safe, stay healthy. God bless. Good night. Like always, thank you all for tuning in. Oh, by the way, thank you again to Luis for the Wonder Bread, but I always forget to come on here and thank you guys who donate outside of YouTube. I appreciate that. You guys, y'all know who y'all are. The Cash Apps and the PayPal. Appreciate that. And again, for any of y'all that care to do so, that information is in the description. But I did not want to go another show without saying that. I always acknowledge people doing the show, and I forget about you guys. So y'all know who y'all are. Thank y'all for doing that. Outside of that, man, I'll catch y'all in the next one. In case there's some breaking news, I'll be back. But until then, go watch some basketball and dream about the football season starting. Catch y'all later, man. Peace. I'm still here. All right, man. Catch y'all later.